Multiply with whole numbers and fractions. Whole numbers can be turned into fractions by putting them over 1. So let's do an example. Here we have Evelyn is traveling 1,350 miles. Evelyn traveled 1/6 of the distance the first day, and then half the distance the second day, and a third of the distance the third day. How many miles is that on each day? So in order to go with this, we will need to multiply each number, the 1/6 by this 1,350, or the 1/2 times this number. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So we have 1,350, and we're going to multiply it by 1/6. Now remember, we can turn whole numbers into fractions by putting them over 1. So now we have a multiplication problem where we multiply this number by that number and this number by that number. So now we just get 1,350 over 6. So let's go ahead and divide that out, as we could probably reduce this, as this is probably a multiple of 6. So 6 can go into 1,350 how many times? So 6 can go into 12 2 times, which is 12. 13 minus 12 is 1. Bring down the 5. 6 can go to 15 2 times. So we get 12. So 6 times 2 is 12. We have a 3. Then we bring down that 0. Now 6 can go into 30 5 times. So we get 0 there. So each number can be divided by 6, or we can just reduce this into 225 miles on the first day. Then let's do the second day. So now we have 1/2. So then we just multiply once again the top numbers, and then we'll multiply the bottom numbers. So we get 1,350 over 2. Now, 2 can go into 1,350 how many times? 2 can go to 13 6 times. Subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 5. 2 can go to 15 7 times. So we get 14. And then we subtract that. So we're left with 1. We're going to bring down that 0. Now 2 can go to 10 5 times. Which then we get 10. And we subtract and we get 0. So on the second day, she went a total of 675 miles. And then let's look at the third day. We will take the 1,350, and then we're going to then multiply by 1/3. Again, we get 1,350 over 3. Let's go ahead and move this so we have a little bit more room. So now we have 1,350 divided by 3. So 3 can go to 13 4 times. We get 12. We subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 5. Now 3 can go to 15 5 times. So that's 15. We subtract, we get 0. Bring down the 0. Now 3 can go to 0 0 times. So we're just left with 450. So on the third day, she went 450 miles. So on each day, you can see that she went a different amount based upon what we say is 1/3 or 1/2 or 1/6. And let's go do another example. Example 2. If a piston in an engine weighs 3/4 pounds, what do 8 pistons weigh? So here we have a multiplication. We're going to multiply 3/4 times 8. I'm going to put this over 1. Like we said that we can do that with whole numbers. So now we can multiply the top two numbers, and then we'll multiply the bottom two numbers. So we get 3 times 8, which is 24, and then 4 times 1 is 4. Now, 24 divided by 4, as this is, right, a division problem, so this will just equal 6 pounds. If the speed limit is 60 miles per hour, how many miles can a car go in 3/4 of an hour? Reduce the fraction. So we have 60 times 3/4. So let's do 60 over 1 times 3 over 4. But let's use prime factorization before we multiply out. So this will then become the following below. So 60 can be broken down into 2 and 30, and 30 can be broken down into 2 and 15, and then 15 can be broken down into 3 and 5. So now we have 60, now like this. So we have 2 times 3 times 5 over 1 times 3, because that's already a prime number, and then 4 can be broken down into 2 times 2. So remember, we have 2 here's, and we have 2 2's here. So we can cross those out. So that becomes a 1, that becomes a 1, then this will become a 1, and that becomes a 1. Now we can do this multiplication because there's no more common factors. So now we have 3 times 5 times 3. So 3 times 5 is 15, times 3 is 45, and then we just have 1 times 1 times 1, so it's over 1. Or we could say 45. And this is for miles. So let's do another example. Pete needs to cut 8 pieces of vacuum tubing from the roll in the shop. If each piece is 13.47 inches long, then what is the total length of the tubing cut from the roll? Use the expression below, and then we're going to reduce our fraction. So we have 8 pieces of this length, and we're using an improper fraction here. So we have 95 over 7 times 8 over 1. So let's go ahead and just rewrite this. It's a little bit bigger. So once again, we're multiplying this number and this number together. And then we're going to multiply this number and this number together. So 95 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 9 times 8 is 72, plus that 4 is 76. So then we get 760 on the top, and 7 times 1 is 7. And this is reduced because there's no common factors with 7 in 760. So this would be the total length of the tubing.